Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Kyle Miller. Thanks for joining me. And today, our show is all about highlighting people that are doing great things in their community, in their life, building entrepreneurs. And so today, our show, we have a special guest with us. Her name's Eva G. Scott. So, Eva, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And it's weird because, one grandmother was Evelyn and one grandmother was Giselle. And so Evelyn Giselle became Eva G.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Eva, you've been in the insurance world for a little bit of time. Tell me a little bit how all that happened, your past experiences and what kind of led you into the insurance.
Right. I think that insurance isn't an industry that many people desire.
Yeah, you didn't wake up and be like, I want to be an insurance agent.
Right. Unless you had a family member, a parent who worked in the industry. I mean, in Charlottesville, State Farm has had a large presence. So there are some people who are like, I'm going to work for insurance. But for me, it was the summer before my senior year of college.
Okay.
And I had gone to the career services department looking for internships. And State Farm had an internship. It was in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
So as I talk, you're going to hear, I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up in Milwaukee. And so I went to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater.
Okay.
And so I applied for this internship. I got it. 30 people from around the country came to Nebraska. And we lived in the dorms. So it was like real world without cameras. Like we worked at State Farm, but it was, so I drove my car to Nebraska. I spent the whole summer there.
Right.
And I fell in love with State Farm.
Right.
And I had a job offer going into my senior year of college. So you can't beat that.
Now,
awesome.
what did you do on this internship? Do they still have this internship?
They do. It looks a little bit different now. But for me, I was aligned with the public affairs department. And that name has transitioned over the years. But what I was responsible for was building connections in the community with State Farm agents, our executive office, and the community they're in.
Right.
So I had lunch with the mayor of Lincoln, Nebraska, and I got to pass out those big checks that State Farm gives so much, and they don't advertise that a lot, but the amount of grants that they provide to the communities around, it's amazing. And that was what I got to do, and then I loved it. So I was like, I'm ready to be a public affairs specialist.
Right.
And they're like, well, you can go to auto claims because that's where. So the internship gave me this exposure to this world of insurance that I didn't even know existed.
Okay.
And then I kind of got to take a step back into claims. That is the foundation, one of the foundations of our company. And I learned about auto insurance beyond just paying for it as, a 22-year-old consumer. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're leading us down that route with the auto insurance. What are some of the things that you learned about auto insurance that most people don't even know about? Honestly, I look at my bill or look at my, whatever you call it. I don't even know. I get a stack of it this deep, and I'm like, what is all this stuff? What does it mean? And I rely a lot on my insurance agent to kind of guide me. Hey, this is what you do. This is where you're at. So can you explain a little bit of that?
Exactly. And I appreciate hearing that because you have to understand, this is what we do all day.
Right.
And so the letters and the numbers on your declaration pages or on your renewal statements that you get, that's like a second language to us.
Right.
But for you, it isn't. And that's okay. I think it's important to kind of take a step into deeper and understand, what are you paying for? What does it mean? Because there's lots of elements to that monthly statement every month or every 6 months. So that's a thing. Auto insurance renews every 6 months for our company. Some are different. But looking at what are you responsible for? What happens if an accident occurs? How does that work? And talking to your agent.
Yeah.
And maybe once a year, just get a quick refresh. Tell me what this means again, quickly. Or I really want to understand, let's do a deeper dive.
Right.
And I'll say the biggest lesson, it's kind of sad. Well, I was in auto claims, and we had a customer who was on a motorcycle, and they pulled out in front of a van. And I would say that was the incident that made me aware of the importance of knowing your limits.
Okay.
The liability limits that you have on your car insurance, which means like if I'm responsible for hurting or killing someone in an accident,
Right.
do I have enough insurance to protect me? And if I don't, can I get more, or what does that mean for me? Like,
Right.
how is that making me exposed now personally liable for that incident?
Right.
And luckily we did. We had enough limits. The people survived. They were in like comas for 6 months. It was a long time. And it costs a lot of money,
Right.
The medical bills. Your claim is kind of made up of like medical bills, your lost wages, and then like additional pain and suffering. And that's, again, generally broadly, this is like disclaimer,
Right.
right? It's, so then you have to look at like, okay, what is the value of that?
Right.
And do I have enough? And I share that situation with my customers, not to put fear into them, but just to like help them understand like this is why
You want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The auto insurance just necessarily isn't for the car.
Right.
It's for all
Right.
the damage that you could do and that. So what do you
Right.
typically what would you typically like to see people with what type of coverage for their car, at least for, the death benefits and or the, I don't even know if that's what it's called.
Liability limits.
Yeah.
They the state mandates a certain requirement.
Okay.
Okay. And then they reevaluate that like on a reoccurring basis.
Okay.
And so the state minimum limits are $30,000 per person and $60,000 per accident.
Okay.
So then you have to kind of step back and say like, okay, what is that enough?
Yeah.
And it's a really important thing to view because we'll have people call in and bills are going up and maybe they'll do a quote online and it'll be significantly less.
Right.
And then I'll say, okay, help me, like let's look and make sure that you're getting the same coverage because I understand from a budget perspective, some people need to make sure that they can afford all the bills that they're responsible for.
Right.
But then when we go deeper into the policy, we realize, they reduced your limits.
Right.
So they increased your exposure. And so let's talk about that.
Right.
What does that mean? What happens if something goes over? And like we can match the same low limits, but usually after the conversation, they want to keep what they have. Like
Right.
that's our goal, is to make sure that and it's like, is it ever enough? It's balance. It's that balance.
Right. Well, you never know, right? I mean, I was looking at last year. Maybe it was last year. Time flies, right? With kids. For health insurance, right? And I was like, all right, what's this? I was getting self-employed. I don't have any company to go through, and I was getting quotes for like $2,400 a month. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's a highway robbery almost. And so I had to go in and look at other options, other things that I could do, and basically not piecemeal, but like say, I don't need that because I don't have kids, or this,
Right.
whatever it was. They were asking for different things, and I was like, no, I don't do that. That's not. I don't. Oh, we can take that off. So, like, they were able to cut down
Right.
on the plan. So it was just interesting, and I'm sure insurance quotes and everything, you can do that as well with yours. It's not all just cut and dry. This is what I want. This is what I need. Right.
Exactly. And that's like, we have a big campaign going, like the personal price plan. Like that's not just for the commercials. It's legit. Like your insurance, what you need is going to be different than what I need.
Right.
And some of it's based off of the vehicle you have or the home you live in, but other factors are contributing. So it's really important, I think, too, like if you go online, beware, because you want to make sure you're getting everything that you need. And I don't know if you experience this with looking for health insurance, but like once you click into the universe, the amount of like phone calls you receive, like
different number.
Yeah, right. Hey, it looks like you're shopping for. And listen, it's part of the industry. Like
Right.
it is how we make new connections with people that aren't going to call us directly.
Right.
And so I'm not saying internet leads aren't a bad, but you want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into.
Now, I was on a call the other day with a guy that was doing, as entrepreneurs, as things, we make money and we do our best to make as much money as we can. And that's a lot of the times that's what we're thinking about. How do we make more money? How do we help and grow and expand and stuff like that? But then also on the back end, he came on that call and he's like, I'm not going to make you a single penny on this call. Okay, guys? So just get that in your head right now. But what I'm going to do is save you, right? And one of the things that he brought up in that call was vehicles. How entrepreneurs can get sued by if I own the car and my son was driving the car, I can still get caught up in that, right? And so I think, if you have a kid or something like that and they're out driving your vehicle, what do you and I don't even know how the insurance rate is because my son's only 13. I'll get into this pretty soon, but what do you see with the insurance on how to best make that work, right? Or to most cost effective is to put the car in the kid's name and then have it that way, because that's a lot of liability in having that car in my name, my son's driving it, and he's 16, 17 years old.
Right. And this is it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. And again, why it's so important that you have a relationship with your insurance agent, because those are the types of conversations and questions that you're not going to just get online.
Right.
Because each individual situation can be completely different. And so looking at the family and how that's comprised, but also the type of vehicle. So it's really a personal plan for you. And I heard you, I was listening, I think that making money is important, right? Just to live. However, I want you to know that we approach it from a space of, we want to make sure that you're getting the protection you need and you understand what you're paying for.
Right.
And know that circumstances can change. So what you have today doesn't need to be what you have even next year or down the road.
Right.
So it should be more than just a one-stop, I've got my insurance, I'm set for the rest of my life.
Right. What you're saying is it should be a yearly thing that you should check in, because situations and scenarios change. I could have bought a couple more houses, turned it into rentals. I could have done this. I could have done that. Now we're in a different bracket, or maybe there's some more exposure that we have here. I personally have a $1 million umbrella policy, right? But I'm thinking, I think I need to up that. Okay, well, I talked to my insurance agent, and he was telling me that I needed to go through I forget what he said, a physical almost.
Okay.
To kind of, I may be misquoting that. I'm trying to remember what he said.
Yeah.
But there were some things that I had to go through to up that up to $2.5-3 million for just an umbrella policy for anything and everything, right? After all the other insurance products that we have.
But I think good for you for even acknowledging that it might need to be increased and changed.
Right.
And so that's what it's about. When people come to see me, sometimes they'll get embarrassed that they don't know what they have.
Right.
And I just want to reassure them no, that's how we are staying here. And this is why I have a job, to help you through these situations.
Right.
And I would say that different laws will come into place, scenarios with your personal life come into play. So all of that's important, that at least annually you should get a phone call. And then if there's a major life event that occurs, then ask for a one-off, an additional appointment. I mean,
I think that's what, as far as business owners, entrepreneurs, we don't always have the right answer, but we have somebody that knows, right?
Right.
And so to put as many people in your corner that know about other things in life, and that they could be your trustworthy person to go and talk to, I think that's what you got to really feel comfortable with, right? And just having our conversation here, I mean, you're just a ball of energy, sincere.
Yeah.
You brought us gifts, right? And like,
Yeah.
I just think that's the type of person that you are. And you obviously know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have State Farm behind me. I mean, I think that's where, when you think about like, who do you go to, or why Eva?
Right.
So it's me, personally, but also you've got the number one insurance company in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, the resources, the contacts, the amount of knowledge and experience. The company's over 100 years old, and
Right.
it didn't just happen for luck.
Right.
Like, they care, and I care, and that's why I also chose to start my business with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
So you work corporate for how long?
15 years.
So you know the ins and outs of everything of the back end of the office.
I don't know.
I don't think you're that old, but
I 15 years. I started in claims, and then I moved to Charlottesville in 2009.
Okay.
And that was my first company move, and I was in human resources.
Okay.
And so I would help leaders in corporate on various different projects, and then I went into leadership, and then I moved to Maryland for my first leadership role. So we kind of did a back and forth around the country. 6 times we did Virginia to Maryland, then Maryland to Virginia, then Virginia to Colorado, then back to Virginia, then Arizona, and then back to Virginia. And I'll tell you, I'm not from Charlottesville, but I feel so connected to the community here.
Yeah.
It embraced me. I found my husband here. We bought our first house here. We're raising our kids here. So I feel to be in this community and to it all kind of worked out. And
Right.
After 15 years and figuring out what's next, I'll tell you, my husband was super supportive, amazing, but it was do we get to stay this time?
Right.
Can we put our roots in finally? And and that's when I explored the State Farm agency opportunity.
So how was that transition from corporate salary position going into, hey, I'm going to build my own brand business here in Charlottesville because I love it, right? And I know I like insurance.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you?
It was it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think I grew up in State Farm corporate.
Right.
Right. From I was 22, when I started, right out of college. And I got to see the country. They provided me all these opportunities. And the relationships and the people. When I left, I was it was a second line leader position.
Mm-hmm.
So I had teams around the country. And the people, I to leave the people was probably the hardest for me.
Right.
But then I realized, I'm not leaving the people. The people come visit me. They do. The people I work with for years, I'm in contact with them.
Right.
And State Farm also had an amazing program where they mostly paid for my MBA. So I got my MBA in insurance, and I felt those two things colliding were kind of okay, it was 15 years in, I have my MBA, and I was working in the Charlottesville Operations Center on Pantops, and then COVID. And we kind of reevaluated our brick and mortar presence, and we found out that Charlottesville wasn't going to continue to have that building on Pantops, but we loved our home and the community. The kids were getting older.
Right.
So it was kind of a culmination of those things. Okay, if I'm going to make a change, it's now.
Right.
And it's been awesome.
Yeah.
It really has. Yeah.
It's being an entrepreneur. I'm sure it was scary.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was oh my gosh, I know what I'm doing, but do I really know what I'm doing?
Right.
Right. I have the support from my husband, but it's still oh, here we go. It's like riding that first roller coaster and getting ready to go over the edge. And
Right.
It's just is this going to be good or not, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I found going into different aspects of business, different things. And just, it's always that first step. But I think taking that first step just makes you take the second, and then you're rolling, because you don't want to fall on your face. You just got to keep going.
Right.
So I always love it. I find it exciting. I find it exhilarating. And I really enjoy it. Enjoy it.
And I'll tell you that I have an amazing team.
Yeah.
And that is what has kept me alive and optimistic, and just like that continuous growth. Like to see, I come in every day, like they're happy, I'm happy, like the energy that they bring to me every day just makes me want to succeed that much more.
Where is this? Where's your office at?
I am right across from Barracks Road Shopping Center on the CVS side of Emmett.
Gotcha.
So, like, I look at Brazos Tacos every day.
Gotcha.
And have to restrain myself, or else I'll have to like roll home. So we're on Emmett and Carruthers. I think I'm saying that right, but I'm probably not. It's a hall. It was UVA, and it actually like used to be the State Farm office. So I've learned.
Oh, okay.
The agent that had the office prior to me was Frank Schultz.
Okay.
And he was an agent for 40 years, State Farm agent for 40 years.
Gotcha.
And so he actually still owns the building that I'm in.
Okay.
And taking over that legacy has been amazing too, just to like get to meet him and know him. And a lot of the customers that were with Frank are now with me. And that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you see with everything that's happening with insurance, or just the world, right?
Yeah.
What do you see possibly that, with AI and all this other stuff, what do you see in the next, 10 years of what insurance is going to look like? Do you have any idea?
I think that there's some like misconceptions of what people will want or what they think they want. When I think about like technology advancement and like the instant gratification, right? Or the need that we want, I see value in that in a lot of different areas. But when I think about insurance and the importance that it carries, I hope that agents are still part of that. Right. That need and that want. Right. And I think that they should be. So maybe like the process can get faster. Right. I've seen it just like I've been in this role for 8 months, and just like the technology advances, like the ability to like call us and have us enter the information and provide you a quote. I mean, it could take 15 minutes.
Gotcha.
And it may be faster.
Okay.
And so I would say that could get better.
Yeah.
I know that we use a telematics program. It's called Drive Safe and Save, and that captures information of driving behaviors, and it's a lot of like for the driver to know like what behaviors they have, but hopefully that data can help us learn more too.
Is that an app that goes on your phone?
Exactly.
Oh, so it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of some people
I know. Program.
Okay, but listen, this is what I say. It's like when I pull up Google Maps to get here, even though I knew the vicinity of where I was going today, like I still use that as my guide, right? And so I just try to help build that connection. Like, your phone is with you. You're using your phone to put in your... Right. It's not for everyone. But I encourage people, because not only does it let you know of the behaviors you have when you're driving, but it also like provides some premium offset. Yeah. So those programs that you can sign up for, it's a space where we can talk about like if you're calling in and you notice that your bill is significantly higher than it used to be, or that you want it to be. Right. Like it's an area where you decide, do you want to be a part of the program, and you can do that.
Well, can you be part of the program and then like go over and like I haven't got a speeding ticket in like 15 years, but it's not to say that I don't speed.
Right. You have to be actively recording.
Pause.
I know, right?
Because I know they have those trackers and stuff inside those trucks. They can
we don't use that word.
Oh, okay. Trackers.
Yeah.
I was talking about semis, but they have it in the semis where they can actually see like them hitting the brake pedal and how fast and hard they hit it, and like, is it a quick stop? I was talking to a guy I was actually buying a house off of one time. He was a trucker, and he had lost his job because he had hit the brakes too hard, like 3 times, which is kind of like, I was like, really? That's it? 3?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're hauling all that weight, and so it was just different. It was something I hadn't experienced before. Yeah. But now I guess they have them in the phones where they can track and make sure that you're a good driver. And
Hold on.
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just making fun. One of the questions that I think about all the time with my house insurance. With what am I missing? Like, I was talking to a buddy Monday night, and he was saying how he bought. I think we were talking about insurance. We were talking about this and that. Oh, because I had surgery, and we were talking about insurance. And he was talking about how his insurance agent back in 2007, when he bought his first house, sold him, and he lives in Louisa County, sold him earthquake insurance. And he was like, earthquake insurance? This guy's blowing smoke. I'm not a fault line through Louisa County. And then a couple years later, then there's a huge earthquake that completely demolishes the school. Right?
I remember that.
And so what are some of the things that you see that people like kind of don't do? Or like something like that? What is something that you see that, if you'd had that, it would have been better? What are some of those things?
Yeah, I think, and I like making sure that you're looking at it.
Right.
Like, and seriously, like on an annual basis, or I would say mainly like if you haven't had a sit down and review in the last 5 years, you want to request that. Because so much has changed. And so like the cost of material, the labor, you want to make sure that you have enough coverage. And then I would also say like your personal property. A lot of people, that's what's inside the home. So if you like take the roof off the house and you shake everything out, like that's the personal property.
Right.
And so clothes and furniture, all of that's included, but there's also like more items that are like significant of value. And a lot of people, you want to make sure that those are included in your personal property. Like jewelry is a good example, okay? Some policies only will cover up to a certain amount of jewelry. Well, you can get a separate policy for jewelry specifically. Or musical instruments. We've had like bicycles, cyclists who like have a lot of bicycles that they need, that they want extra protection for. So I would say that's a space that people maybe not always know, like their jewelry, art, and then I would say a big one that doesn't connect to home insurance is like protection of that mortgage. And so what does that mean? That's like if your mortgage was given to you based off of like 2 incomes. Or even 1 income, okay? And then something happens to one of the providers of that home. Like, what happens to that house? And so a lot of the times when we've got new homeowners or even existing homeowners, we at least want to ask, like, do you have the protection if something were to happen that we could pay off the house for the partner that's there.
So if the person doesn't have necessarily like a health insurance or life insurance, if they don't have that, that's maybe something that you should look into. And
is it enough? And I think that's probably a big gap I see too, is maybe we'll talk about and we'll say like, what's the biggest asset that you own?
Well, most people, they would say it's their personal residence. Right, is the biggest asset that they own. Right.
And then we talk about like, no, it's you. Like you are the biggest asset to your family. Because for me, like I've got 20 more years of work ahead of me. And so throughout those years, like I talk, like even if you made $50,000 a year for the next 20 years, add that to, that's $1 million.
Right.
It's more than my home costs.
Right.
So I think that's the other piece. We just like try to have that conversation to help see like, okay, well, if something were to happen to me, how many more years would I want my paycheck to go to my family?
Gotcha.
You know, like is paying off the house, is that enough? So I think those are conversations that get a little deeper, and sometimes they're scary because you're talking about like death, right? And that is something that we know is inevitable, but we don't want to like think about all the time.
Well, I think, I'll take onto my experience of buying houses. I've probably bought over 400 houses.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I see with families is that people die without a will. They've never talked about it, not once. And now the rest of the family is fighting for whatever's left, right? And in those times, in my scenarios, right, most of the time the family didn't have much to start with, and the last thing is the house. And now the house is getting sold, and it's broken to 4, 6, 8 siblings, and so they're not getting what they think they deserve. And all this stuff could be handled with preparing, like just talk to somebody. This stuff needs to be. I think they need to talk about it in schools more. I think they need to. Hey, this is what this is about. I don't think necessarily schools do a great job in preparing people for life. I don't remember any class that I took in college or high school that talked about insurance and what it actually means.
Right.
You know? And so definitely, even if those people had life insurance, it would have paid for the house. It would have given the family a little bit more money. It would have done this, and it doesn't even cost that much.
Kyle. Let's switch seats. No, but it's true. It really is, and I think that's the other thing. Like, we like it's got to cost so much. But I'll tell you, like, I just helped a woman, business owner, 4 kids. She just got a 20-year term policy for $625,000, and it's costing her $72 a month.
Yeah.
Now, there's factors that contribute to it.
Right.
Your age, your gender. Like, and I don't like that's. Not my space is like underwriting of the insured, but come and ask and let's see what we can do. Yeah. And I would say that that's a space where you just start. Yeah. What kills me, I shouldn't choose, but is the GoFundMes you see too on Facebook or social media, and it's like, and I donate to them because I feel bad, right? My heart is there, and then I have these like thoughts like, should I have, did I talk to them, about it? Because
they could be set up in a far better situation than what they're currently in. If they'd have just taken a couple more extra steps, had a conversation, invested some money, right? Yeah. Because that's what you're doing in the insurance. Yeah. You're planning for a rainy day. You know, you don't want anything to happen, but you want to make sure that you're covered for when it does happen, because who knows?
Yeah, and I understand, like, and maybe it's not the time, right? Like, it's not in the budget. And that's where I want to help, like, have that real conversation. And there's absolutely no judgment attached to that. But I would say the sooner, like, the younger. Right.
Especially, better. Do you do whole life as well? Yeah, so I have a $1 million whole life policy that I fund, and I got it when I was 25. Right? And so it's money going into it every month. Right. But that policy that I got, I mean, it was way cheaper than what if I get it now at 39.
Right. And I got them for my kids. Right. And some people, like, when I share that, they're like, look, I didn't get it hoping that my children will not survive or or not outlive me, right? But what I did, because the other layer to, like, child policies is that it locks in their health. Yeah. So, like, typically, like, when they're younger, and we're going through questions, like, and there's situations and there's scenarios. So I'm not, this is like broadly talking, like, I'll just talk about my kids specifically, okay? They didn't have anything at the time when the policies were written.
Right.
And so when they're 40, they have these policies that are going to carry them forever. Like, I hope they never smoke. They better not. Or get an ailing disease or whatever it may be. But now I've locked in their health for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's powerful. And my mentor, he has $1 million policies set up for his kids, and he dumps cash in. And what I also think that business owners don't know, that they are write-offs. And then you can also borrow against those policies after they've got enough cash value in them. You can borrow that money and then put it back, and it still grows. So there's some cool different things that you can do as far as insurance that you may not know about, and hopefully this is shedding some light for some people out there with this. And then you can partner whole life and term. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And it's not just wasting money. I don't think so.
No, it's not. I think I went to this class and they were like challenging us, like, what do you do? And it's like, I sell insurance. Like, no, what do you do?
Right.
And it's like, I protect families.
Right.
And the reason it's like, it's important.
Right.
It's a choice. It's like an active choice. It's going to take some time. So you've got to say, like, okay, I'm going to dedicate to like going in, learning about this, filling out the applications, and then it's like so rewarding after. Like,
well, I think people think of this as a big, like this big thing that they have to bite off. Like they know nothing about it. Now I got to learn all this stuff about it, and then I got to do this. Break it down. Like, hey, I'm going to learn, all right, we're going to take this week and we're going to learn about what the heck whole life is and how is it going to benefit me, and I'm going to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to get into it. Great. Boom. And then maybe take a week off and then go to the next week and say, all right, now I'm going to learn about what this is. And all you got to spend 30, 45 minutes a day on that, have a conversation with you, do a little reading, find out what's best and how you can make it work. And you continually to stack that every month. Wills, all this other stuff, trusts.
Yes.
And you keep doing that, and then by the end of the year, it'll be a complete. You'll be financially set or protected in a whole different level. So I'm.
Good job, Kyle.
I don't know much about insurance,
true.
though.
No, you do though. Like, I think that's where, like, you do know more, and most people do. They know more than they think they know, but like, let us help you put that puzzle together.
Yeah,
you've
it's
got
those
the pieces
tweaks.
there.
I know that, like the base, right? All right,
Yeah.
what do I need to do here? What do you see? Because that's where I really, when I use, I know the base, but I need to know specifics.
Yeah.
Like, all right, is my benefit here on my auto insurance, what is the majority of the claims at? Where do I need to be? Like, is 500,000 enough, or do I need to be at $1 million?
Yeah.
Right?
I think too, it's like everyone is in a different space, and that's okay too. But most importantly, like, well, what's most important to you?
Right.
So like, think about you and the value you're bringing into your family, and like, what do you want to do to protect them? And the goal is to survive. And not have to use, it depends on what the policy is, but I would say there's so many different options that we can use and stack and explore to help fit what you need and what you can afford.
And that's it's also not, and that's why you just can't say, hey, it's
just do it.
What is it, one size fits all? Everybody's different. Everybody has different income levels. Everybody has different exposures with kids and other things and businesses, and you do business insurance as well?
Yeah, we do.
Nice. So you kind of cover everything. House, home, business. Life.
And then actually, I'm also a certified financial consultant, and so we offer an array of financial products as well. And so it's really a place where you can come to our office and talk about all of the things. And that's what we really enjoy. Like, our day is that much better when people come in and visit us, like actually in the office or on the phone. We do it all. We can do video, we can do phone calls, but like when the bell rings and someone enters our office, it's like everyone just gets a little bit more excited. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you coming in,
Thank
Eva.
you.
Thank you for coming in, sharing some knowledge. Leaving here, what is one thing that you want listeners to remember about the insurance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gone to a few different organizational meetings, and I try to say insurance isn't always fun, but I am,
Right.
and so
And you are.
at least come in and talk about it, and no obligation. Let's just look at what you have. Is it enough? And do you know what you have?
Yeah.
So just look at those documents a little deeper. And if it's not with an agent in town, maybe it's time to get an agent in town.
Okay.
And then
Does local better? Is it does it make a difference?
I'll say I like it because then we can see each other face to face.
Okay.
But at the same time, when our customers move an hour away, I don't want them to leave me either.
Right.
So I would say it depends. It depends on what your needs are. But being local provides more opportunity.
So I would say to that, find somebody you trust.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody that trusts, that gives you the right advice. It's not just trying to sell you something. But
Right.
wants to make sure that you're protected in life. So do that. Find somebody you trust. Eva's is a perfect. Where do people find you?
They can find us locally on Emmett Street,
Yep.
so near the CVS. My website is EvaGeeScott.com, so EvaGScott.com.
Okay.
And you can search Eva G. Scott State Farm,
Okay.
and I'll show up too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming out today, sharing your story, sharing your info, and everything that you know about this. And if you want to learn more, granted, guys, we can't cover everything that happens in a 45-minute show. But if you want to learn, we can hit the basis. But if you want to learn more, reach out to her, understand where you are in your situations, and get protected, because really insurance necessarily isn't an expense. It's an investment for yourself. And reach out to Eva. Thank you, guys.
Thank
And
you.
until next week, I'll see you later.